Hey everybody, Stephen Bogren here from Pro Physique. Today I'm going to talk about building muscle. So hello everyone, I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Today, a very simple topic and a very important topic. Now, I know a lot of people, we've been off stage, we're looking at the stage, we have these contemplations in mind and we say, I really feel like I would be better suited to build more muscle. Well, you're in luck. That's what we're talking about today. Quite often, what we see is not necessarily what we get, and it's going to be a little bit different for everyone because we all have a different starting point. And so some of you out there have been training for years and years on it, and so what it's going to take for you to build muscle will be much more than some of you who maybe just started training. And we want to be able to account for that difference. One of the biggest things in terms of what we're going to look for to help build muscle, to get stronger, to get jacked, to get yoked, all those kinds of good things, is something that's called progressive overload, which means we progressively overload our system. So if you're doing nothing, you can just start doing something. You're gonna get better, you'll get stronger, you'll see improvements. It's a wonderful thing. You can probably just work out 2 to 3 days a week, do some whole body routines, work out for 45 minutes or an hour, and you're gonna be in a great spot. Now, if you're like me, we're on the other end of the spectrum, okay? Which means I still have to lift 5 days a week or so. I have to train hard. My volume has to be higher. I'm gonna have to do much more work to facilitate that my body is going to continue to adapt. Why? Because it's adapting. Which means once it adapts to a stimulus and it feels comfortable being there, we have to increase that stimulus. Change over time. And so as you're newer, you're gonna see much greater rate of change. You're going to get better way faster. It's what a lot of people like to call the newbie gains. And it's a wonderful thing. But again, if you're like me and you've been training for a long time, it takes longer. It is slow. And so I myself am probably gonna get maybe 1 to 2 pounds of lean tissue per year as a natural athlete. And that's probably pretty damn good. Now, making sure that we keep this in mind, we can really pay attention to some of the other things that also matter. So if I did 50 pounds for 10 reps, I wanna do 52 pounds for 10 reps. Or I wanna do 50 pounds for 11 reps. And then when I find that I can't recover anymore, or I'm having a hard time progressing, maybe I take a step back, I deload, I allow my body to recover, and then begin progressing again from there. And that's essentially our progressive overload. It's just this wave-like pattern that goes up over time. It's a beautiful thing. And so when we understand this, we understand much more so that it's not necessarily about one singular workout. It's not necessarily about one singular exercise. It's about this culmination of training consistency over a long period of time. Being in a spot where our stress is managed, our sleep is good, we're getting enough calories to actually adapt, and we're seeing healthy habits going along that entire time. Which also means that we can do this awesome thing like taking a day off. And I think this is one of the things that's really hard for people because we feel like if maybe we take one day off, all the rest of the days off are now gonna happen. And now we're just out of everything. However, we could take a day off, we could take 2 days off, we can take 3 or 4 days off if that's what's necessary. We could go in and train on those days, but train with much lower volume, with a lighter intensity, with less reps, less sets. We have a lot of different options to where we can still have some stimulus, but nowhere near as much stimulus. Because you could do the hardest workout in the world, you can put all your effort into it, but none of that matters if you can not only recover from it and get better from it. Remember, we have a reserve. We have this kind of maximal potential that we can do. We want to try and find that sweet spot between where It fits our lifestyle. We enjoy it at least as much as possible. It's not always going to happen. But we're also recovering from it. We're getting better still. Okay? So yes, we want to work hard. Yes, we want to challenge ourselves. Yes, we want to do all of those kinds of things. But even more so, we want to do those things in a manner that also allows us to recover and get better. Because one of the biggest things that we often overlook in this fitness industry, if you will, is the recovery aspect. It's getting better. Now, that may just be in part due to our social kind of idea that grind more, work harder is always better. And I do believe that we are seeing some people really getting away from that, understanding that it's not necessarily about being busy and about just doing work, right? Work smart, not hard. Okay? Work smart. That's what I want. I want us to work smart. But I also want us to work hard. So it's not necessarily about being lazy. It's about being smart and doing things in a manner that's going to facilitate that we make that long-term progression. We make that long-term change, that adaptation. And so making sure that we're managing that in a way that we're really paying attention to some of those other physiological signs that we might be overdoing it is very important. So one of the really easy signs that we're overdoing it, we start having issues with performance. What we used to be able to lift, we have a very hard time lifting. What used to be very manageable is now extremely challenging, or we might not even be able to do it. We're sore for days on end, 2, 3, 4, 5 days. That might mean we're doing a bit too much. We can also see poor sleep because stress response is so high. Remember, a lot of us do use the gym for that psychological stress management, which is great, but we have to also still consider that it's a physiological stressor. So it's still creating a physiological stress response. So we can see sleep negatively impacted, okay? Depending on how your hunger signaling is, you could see your hunger impacted in one way or another, right? So there's a lot of different things we can see. And then energy levels, whoop, oof, right? Because if we're not sleeping well, normally energy levels fall as well. And then of course, things like libido that are gonna be associated with maybe some of our anabolic sex hormones, also shoop, doop, 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 down it goes. So being aware of these things, where you're at normally, how you normally feel, and seeing how you're feeling through those training blocks can also really give us a lot of insight as to, are we progressively overloading appropriately? Woof. And so if we find that maybe we're getting some of those things happening, maybe we need to utilize a refeed day, or a double refeed day, or a diet break if we're in a deficit. Maybe we just need to take a couple days off from the gym. Maybe we need to take a little bit early of a deload, right? These things should be planned anyways and structured as part of our training to lay off and recover well so that we can get back into that progressive overload again. However, things don't always go according to plan, and this is of pivotal importance. You absolutely have to be okay, willing, and accepting to change the plan as your body dictates and as the situation dictates. Because shit happens. It does. Ask Forrest. He knows. We really, really have to be aware and open and okay, accepting of the fact that it doesn't always go the way we want it to go. It doesn't always go the way we think it's going to go. And so we have to work around those speed bumps and those barriers that might come up throughout the process. So again, that might mean taking an early deload. That might mean just taking some days off from the gym. It could mean a whole slew of things, but we just want to keep an eye on some of those factors and say, okay, do we see this happening? Because your plan may go perfectly. That's awesome too, but be aware. Remember, it's progressive overload, which means we do it over time, we get better. It doesn't mean every day we get better. It doesn't always mean every week we get better, but we get better over time. So patience is key. I don't have a key. It's key. So that's what I want to talk about today. I'm out. I'm done. That's it. Good.